It's going to Rouslin, right? Okay. Thank God.
Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday of the Super Bowl week, which also means it's Wednesday of the Waste Management Phoenix Open Week, always on the same weekend, which is kind of fun. Makes this tournament just a little bit more exciting. We know when golf ends, we flip over the channel, and not maybe a half hour later, we get the Super Bowl starting. So, Ben, what a fun week it is. I'll bring you in and say hi to everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday evening. A little different time, 7:30. We've got so much basketball going on. They're trying to fit us in like in between two pieces of bread. We're just the salami, man.
So you went for a salted meat, which I respect. That works. I thought you were going to say peanut butter and jelly, but pastrami.
I had that for lunch today. I don't want it again.
Yeah, I respect that. It is true. You know, when I think a lot of times when obviously, naturally, if you played PGA DFS for a while, you think about like, okay, what happened at this tournament last year? And for me, it's always a blur. Waste management is not like that because it's tied to the Super Bowl. I know exactly where I was every year for it. I vividly remember Ricky winning here. I vividly remember a couple others. We're going to get into all that. One of my favorite tournaments of the year, though. I love this. Even though the crowd, what are we looking at, 5,000?
Yeah, 5,000, which, hey, you know, it's something is better than nothing, right? I was actually going to do a giveaway to ask people to guess how long I'd leave my glasses on tonight. It's already gone.
Apparently
so
not long.
Whoever had the under of 1 minute into the show wins. Hit me up if you were able to guess that. We'll get you hooked
Mine
up.
are staying on, let me tell you.
Yeah, they normally they need to, but I'm going to wing it without it tonight. But if you aren't able to win that little giveaway that I was going to do, make sure you like and subscribe because we have got plenty of giveaway stuff going on each and every day. Today, free, you can go and get our golfer projections from Alex. Alex and I did a lot of work over the break on them. We uploaded a bunch of strokes gain data in them. I've been seeing some really good MME success in the last 3 weeks using them. So check them out free this week. But Ben, let's jump into it. We've got some waves to talk about. No withdrawals and no weather concerns. That's nice. Makes this little front topic rather easy to talk about.
It does, yeah. I mean, and obviously, I think everyone is just against weather. How could you? That's just annoying. We're in good shape here, and the withdrawals as well. Charlie Hoffman hasn't withdrawn yet. We'll probably wait till Friday somehow. But yeah, I mean, this is just solid. It's a slightly smaller field. I do want to put that out there, but we're back to, you know, this is obviously not a split course. So we do have true AM, PM waves. Yep. You can go back to that, but I don't see a big difference in terms of who you can target and who you can't.
Totally agree. It will end up evening out, even if it doesn't seem like it's going to. I almost assured that it will. But go over a couple just in case you guys want to do the AM PM stack, which is, you know, I'd say maybe a longer 2-day sweat if you want to do it that way. But we've got some big names going right off the top. Young Yanan and Will Zalatoris are two names that I underlined. They're playing together and going off of 10 at 720. A lot of ownership and interest going into that little twosome, and they're joined by...
Yeah, okay. I was about to say, hold on.
Your guy, Grillo. I had to lead
crazy.
you into it there, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. What a fantastic group. Obviously, I don't know. You may know this. I don't know who's on PGA Tour Live, but it should just be them. They don't even need a secondary group. Nope. Grillo, Benyon, and Will Z right off the bat. First-round leader. I could see it coming from that group. Benyon's always off first, by the way. That's like a running joke. Always.
Yeah, what is that? Because he even loves to joke about it too. He's like, did I upset the PGA Tour? What's going on here? I don't know how they do it, but it is funny. He does go off first a lot. But it's interesting. I don't think for me, I don't really care when my golfer goes off. You know, I think the fresh greens, maybe that's something on POA, certainly not on Bermuda that I really worry about. But for Will Zalatoris and Hanan and Grillo, if you put those three together in the same lineup, it's actually a really good start to a lineup. And we do see often in the first two rounds, maybe not throughout the whole weekend, but the first two rounds, players do draft off each other.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. That is again, I have not done a deep dive in the data, but I strongly believe that when a group gets momentum, it can benefit. And you can kind of, obviously they're going to get the same conditions. We know that. So that's a small correlation. I kind of like, especially if I'm between, you know, we get a lot of questions in our premium Slack, you know, this guy or this guy, they're both 7,500. If one of those guys is paired with someone else in your team already, I tend to lean that way in close decisions.
Agreed. Now, funny question from chat. I got to ask you because I have much interest in this group as well with Zalatoris there. How much would you pay just to watch the Zalatoris Grillo Hanan group for the whole round. Honestly, I'd probably pay like $10 a round just to watch my guys.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would pay, you get 2 kidneys, vital organs that wouldn't kill me. I would sacrifice. That is as good of group. If I had to make a group, Wise would probably kick out Will Z, but you couldn't make a group that I would be more interested in.
I think they're missing a big target market, but listen, we're not on the PGA Tour. We don't decide how they sell their products, but if we could, that would be the way to do it. Package groups and let us just watch whoever we want. Anyways, that's pie in the sky thinking. Maybe someday we will get it, but what we will get is a good bunch of players. Believe it or not, Ben, Jordan Spieth is not part of our featured groups this week. We have some good ones here to chat about, which I'm going to bring in and talk about our top end fade to kind of conjunction with it. But before I do, I already mentioned the golf projections are free, but if you're ready to join us on the Awesemo Plus side, get access to all of what we have to offer for nearly every single DFS sport out there with an Awesemo Plus weekly pass, just $29.95. This includes access to everything we've got, including player projections, ownership projections, premium Slack, and much more. If you're only looking to play PGA, then sign up now for our weekly PGA package, $8.95. You get everything premium that Ben and I put out, and of course, the player projections that I just mentioned, ownership projections, and so much more. So, Ben, this week is a little tough. 5 of the top 5 guys, all projected right around or over 20%. Mm-hmm. Throw out Hideki Matsuyama, add in Daniel Berger, and 6 of the top 7 are projected at 20%.
Really odd. It's that every week we always say, like, even if a guy is low owned up top, it's relative. They all garner ownership because they're the best players in the world. But this week, it feels very balanced. And it's almost saying, okay, you can basically choose quote unquote best available. You're not going to gain leverage no matter who you go to. You're also not going to be quote unquote chalky whoever you go to. For me, the best available, obviously the money is a little apprehensive, is Rahm. Rory is interesting. Xander is the least interesting. And that kind of goes with what I normally do. I was a little shocked to see him priced ahead of Justin Thomas and Rory.
Yeah, I was too. I actually believe that they might have done this last year as well in the exact same spot. Obviously, Rory didn't play, but Thomas played. And I believe they priced him above. Again, I could be wrong. I could go check on that, but I feel like that's the case. Now, Rory's never played here, but if you would think of a golf course, if he has his driver intact, could you think of that many more golf courses that you'd rather have him on than TPC Scottsdale? I mean, he's going to hit 16 drivers a day, maybe not 16, but he looked so good last week with the driver. I know that the other parts of his game didn't click on Sunday, but if he's going to be the lowest owned and in the middle of the pricing or the cheapest of the 4, I'll take Rory every single time.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think it's a huge deal. The only, I guess, knock you could say with Rory, obviously he's not winning, and that of course is an issue. He hasn't played here. I don't think that's a big deal at all. He's going to be just fine. This course is going to fit. And we just had a question from chat, and I should elaborate a little. Why don't I like Xander? Yeah. First of all, the reason I don't like Xander, it's an opportunity cost. It's not that I don't like him in a vacuum. Gained 5 strokes putting last week. He was good tee to green as he always is. I just look, and it's just the putter is leaning pretty heavy with him. He's also not winning. He's got a ton of fantastic finishes. He made that cut on the number, then he came in second. For me, he's just a little overpriced and a little overowned perpetually. So dangerous fade, but I'm going to have to fade someone. You can't play them all.
Right, and that's kind of the point. To elaborate on Xander really quickly, last week, I think he was priced appropriately. He didn't have great course history. I think it maybe was a little bit of a silly fade looking back on it, playing Monday morning quarterback, of course. However, if he had made one more bogey coming in, he wouldn't have even made the weekend. So again, playing a little Monday morning quarterback, it would have been a better spot to play him last week. However, going into this week, Ben, at 11,000, getting the same ownership as these guys, that's where I say, okay, how many times out of 10 is Xander going to beat Rory? And it's not 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10. It's none of those. No. So I just can't play Xander when Rory's cheaper until, maybe 10 years down the road. Sure. But not right now. They're both playing too good. I know Rory's not closing, but he will. It will come. We both know that. So the top end fade for me, I don't know that I'm going to fade Xander that much. The first guy I'm fading that I'm getting way under on is Harris English again. Same reason that we're fading Xander. I don't see him as a $9,300 golfer.
I mean, you've said it. And again, this is the same thing where it's not to say that Harris English is not a good player, that he doesn't even deserve to be there. A miscut at Farmers, I don't think that's a huge deal. Like, Harris English is a damn good player, but you're buying at the top in my mind. You've got Sanjay for $100 more. You've got Berger for $300 more. You've got a string of guys that are volatile. In Scheffler, well, Will Z's not volatile. He's just good.
Yep.
Brooks, Wolf, these guys are all cheaper. There's a lot to like outside of Harris English. And for me, any share that I would go to him, I would rather go elsewhere.
Yeah, let's talk about the mid-nines for a second. I think Sungjae Im and Hideki Matsuyama are going to be a couple of opportunities to get some leverage on. Who would you pick if you only had one?
Boy, I'm passing this question right back to you after I answer. I think I would go to Decky, but that is an interesting range. There's a lot of ways to build this week. We're going to talk about that throughout the show. Obviously, Hideki, I said this yesterday. I mean, his ability is a winner here twice and a runner-up. He gained over 5 strokes on the approach in every time he's been here besides the withdraw. So he loves this course. What do you do with a question like that?
Remember his withdraw too? Do you remember the circumstances? He was leading the golf tournament.
Oh, I remember. Believe anything with Hideki, I remember that guy.
That one stung. That one definitely stung. Now it hit the TPC getting canceled last year because of COVID mid-round. That one didn't stung. That one helped me. I had no Hideki that week. So sometimes I guess it goes back and forth. However, Sungjae Im to me is really close. Each of the last 2 weeks, he's held the lead. 2 weeks ago at the Desert Classic, he held it going into the weekend. And last week, very, very shortly, he was tied for the lead after he made birdie on 8. And then he had an 8-footer on 9 to get to 10 under. If he makes that putt, who knows where he's going on the back 9 to post the number. So I think Sungjae Im is really close. I know his price is a little expensive based on his odds to win versus the other golfers. You know, like you can go get $200 more and see Daniel Berger right there, right, Ben? And he's half the odds of Sungjae. That's going to become low ownership. That's where I'm liking Sungjae this week. I think he's going to end up being 5% owned again.
No doubt. And that's where this is where we start. You mentioned at the top, there's going to be very balanced ownership. There's going to be a lot of guys gaining there. This is where maybe we start to get some leverage. And it doesn't mean you have to go there, but at some point as we work down, you're going to have to open it up. I mean, you have to beat 100,000 people if you want to take down the flop shot or whatever the hell they call it at this point. So this is where ownership can start to open up as we work down. It's a very interesting this week. And I don't know if you felt this. To me, the pricing had a distinctly different feel than every other week so far this year.
I would say that it felt, I expected Rahm's price to be a little more expensive. And then we got Rory and Thomas cheaper than Xander. So I believe I'm agreeing with you there. I think there's a lot of poison also in this 8K range, which is why I had that topic there. And believe it or not, I don't believe that Ricky Fowler is what I'd consider poison this week, even though lately he kind of has been. But it was brought up to me by a very astute guy on Twitter, Ben Cooley Golf, that Ricky's had his 2 best driving performances off the tee back-to-back weeks that he's had in almost over a year. That's got to be a good sign.
Ricky's a fascinating situation coming into a course that he loves. His ball striking, you just said this, I'm just going to say it again. Yeah. It has been as crisp as we've seen it in a long time, but somehow the strength of his game has gone away temporarily. His putter has been ice cold to start the year. He lost 4 strokes putting at Farmers. Obviously, you come here at Waste Management. I just want to pull this up. So Ricky is similar to Decky, obviously an immaculate course history. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In his last 6 appearances here, the worst putting performance Ricky has had is plus 2.5. He's gained 5 strokes or more in 4 of those. He's just been absolutely dominant on these greens. If you think that clicks, you pair it with that ball striking, he's right back in the conversation.
Ben, as a fan of Ricky, which I am as well, yeah. Why the hell did he switch putters? Seriously, I don't understand. He was legitimately, you look at his strokes gained putting for years, he was always statistically ranked one of the best. All of a sudden, it's a new putter, and he looks terrible with it. No confidence, not making the putts that he used to. I don't know. Maybe he switches back this week, or maybe it clicks for him, but that just bothered me. 2 things about Webb Simpson, actually, we didn't talk about him. I'm actually more keen to play him this week at this price than I have in a long time. Now, I don't think I'm going to get overweight 20%, but I like both Webb Simpson and Dan Berger a real lot here this week.
Yeah, Berger makes a lot of sense. He's just been playing quality golf. Hasn't missed a cut since Memorial. That was in July. There's nothing to not like except the ownership. I'm in the exact same boat. Webb is just kind of lurking. Normally, what I wish I was saying is that Webb was going to be sneaky and low owned and I would get over. That's not the case, though. And the shares are going to Rory. The shares are going to Rahm. And the shares are going to Berger. So I just don't have room. But it's not to say that Webb, he's the defending champ. So I think we know he can get it done here.
That's for sure. It should have been Finau's tournament, but how many times are we going to say that?
God.
Now, the rest of the 8K section, other than Ricky, maybe we can toss Siwoo Kim out because I think Siwoo Kim might be okay this week. I think everybody else is poisoned. We got Koepka, who he's got a case of the lefts. And if you've been watching Koepka's game for years, you know that when he's hitting it left, it's a big problem. He does not have that shot in his game. It's there right now. Until that's fixed, he won't be competitive. Matt Wolff who knows what's wrong with his trigger finger in his hand. It's not a blister. It's something definitely worse. I'm just not going to touch him until we know that that's solved. We got Billy Horschel, who gained 93,000 strokes putting in his first 3 rounds. Saw what happens when that doesn't click. Just a lot of question marks for me. I honestly, making my lineups, got to very, very few of them.
So I think this is where ownership is going to really dictate. I'm not Usti. When the pricing opened, I thought I opened Saudi Arabia or something because I was just like, there's no way that he's almost 9,000.
Yeah,
but he is. Nobody is going to play him. That is the type of guy, though. I don't mind getting over if I can get over with like 10%. The other guys, Wolf. I get if you want to roll the dice. He's just probably injured. Brooks maybe is permanently injured at this point. So I totally get the risks there. Ricky, ironically, is the safest. I do want to bring up one guy, though. What do you view Bubba as? Because he's a guy, the putter's been cold. He loves this course, though.
So there's 2 guys that I've consistently seen play very bad in windy, tough conditions. Bubba Watson and Cameron Champ. They both don't know how to play in the wind. Mm-hmm. So Bubba shot 70 in round 1 on Thursday. Decent score for his first competitive round since the Masters, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that Ricky Bubba, I think is not a bad way to go about it. The one I'm concerned about that had been playing better is Gary Woodland. He's played 3 straight weeks now, and if he wasn't fully healthy, I would think that 4 straight weeks is going to really put his body to the test here if he is still injured.
His game is just all over. And listen, Torrey South and this are not really comparable, but he got murdered off the tee last week.
Yeah.
I'm not staunchly opposed to Woodland. I just am indifferent. It's not
7,700. I would be great. Exactly. I think it would be perfect.
You just have guys to me in the 7s that are basically the same. So I don't mind taking some shots there. I actually think Brooks is a better bet. He's north of 50 to 1. If you want to hedge that a little bit, you could look to the betting market. DFS, it's just, there's a lot of miscut equity with these guys. And I think you have to be aware of that. There is some upside, there's no doubt, but I'm with you. The 8K range could be filled with landmines.
Yeah, the thing about Billy Horschel, and I've seen the chat talk about him, he's got okay course history here. When he's starting to really rely on his putter and the other parts of his game aren't clicking, he's a guy that gets frustrated really quickly. He quit Twitter. He's just a guy that has a little bit of that, that edge that we saw John Rahm when he used to get really angry in the first beginning part of his career. It seems like Billy Horschel kind of has that edge about him. Sometimes I think it could work for and against him, but here in this part of his season, I'm just not there at this point.
No, he's lost dating back to the Tour Championship with the irons. He just can't. His irons right now are broken. The only reason he came in 7th at Sony is what you said. He gained 8 strokes putting.
Yeah. So it's just for me, and trust me, I guess I'm the king of playing bad golfers that are really good putters. But for me, my results have been getting a little bit better not doing that. So maybe we should just stick with that. Anybody else up here that you want to talk about? Siwoo Kim, he had an awful miscut last week because he didn't wait for the horn to blow. He decided to tee off in a hailstorm on the par 5 and lost his ball. He was sitting at -2, ended up making, I believe, double on the last to miss at even par. And it was a par 5 too. So Who knows what he does over the weekend? Obviously coming out as the winner from the previous week. We know he's got momentum. So are you interested in him? Looks like 10% owned the last update from our buddy Alex at Awesemo.
I think it's fine. I'm a little baffled why his course history is as bad as it is. It's absolutely horrendous, but this doesn't seem like a course that's terrible for him. It's not perfect, but he's got 3 missed cuts, a 62nd and a 67th. And if the ball striking is terrible, I'd rather go to Russell Henley, who really disappointed, gets a price drop, not a class drop, but a price drop. And the irons are still pretty stable. So I don't mind going there, but I'm with you. I think all in all, the 8K range is not filled with a ton to dig into.
Yeah, not that much at all. However, I believe the high 7K session, which we are going to talk about now, is part of our Make the Cut segment, which it's always a fun one to do. First, we're going to tell you if they're going to play all 4 days. Then maybe we'll share a little tidbit of how we feel. And of course, for some more tidbits, head on over to our Twitter and make sure you give us a follow, as we're almost at 30,000 followers and we need your help to get there. So go ahead and give us a like and, of course, a follow to help us reach our goal. Yeah, and follow us as well at DFS Golf. You see our things on the screen here. I hope I'm pointing correctly. I probably could. But anyways, you see it there at DFS Golfer 23 and at Jazz Raz DFS. Yeah, where did Jazz Raz come from, by the way? I don't think I've ever asked you that.
Where did Jazz Raz? Well, my last name is Raza, and I'm a huge Utah Jazz fan.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you were a huge jazz music fan. I'm like, all right.
No joke. I get at least, I'd say, 2 or 3 DMs a year from people being like, hey, man, I'm in New Orleans. Like, what's the best jazz? I don't know shit about music at all. And people think I'm some, like, jazz musician. No, I just love that. My first dog's name was Jazz.
Like Karl Malone, John Stockton? That was your era of liking the Jazz? Okay.
Love those teams.
Gotcha.
That's all we got. Yep, Jazz.
Fair enough. Yep, gotcha. That totally makes sense. So now that mystery in my idea is solved.
Solved.
All right, let's go to the Make the Cut segment here. And we're going to start off with a guy that is certainly trending in the right direction. Really grinded it out last week. Had a hole-out eagle as well. And that's Max Homa. The price, though, that has skyrocketed quite quickly.
Yeah, it has, but I think it's because I've been kind of buying. I'm going to hang on. He's been great. I liked him last week at Farmers, and he was good, and he didn't putt, and he lost off the tee again, and those are things that atypical, especially the off the tee. Max Homa's just playing well. He's a Scottsdale guy. I'm going to hang on. I know he's going to be popular, but I think he sails through to the weekend.
I think a guy that's going to be more popular, that I'd be more prone to fade here for whatever the reason, just doesn't look like. I don't know. For me, it's not the best setup for Corey Connors, and that's why I'm going to take the under on him, and I'm going to take that he packs his bag and heads home to wherever that is. As a chalky missed cut this week. That
would be news. I'm with you to an extent. I think that I don't get over. I like him. I think he's a good play. The field's really going to like him. His ball striking has been immaculate. I was really impressed at what he did at the Masters. I think he makes the cut. Not sure that if I had to pick one, it would definitely be Homa.
Part of the newer content that I've been putting out is Bet of the Day that I stole from you as something you've been putting out for your sports. And just a little sneak peek of one I got coming out tomorrow. We just mentioned Max Homa. You and I both like him a lot. And he happens to be matched up with a guy that I think is absolutely, totally broken right now. As much as I don't want to say it, I'm not talking about Jordan Spieth. I'm talking about Jason Day. Jordan Spieth may be totally broken too, but Jason Day really is as well. Listen, when a guy goes from having to swing so hard his entire career, because that's the way he swings, to now trying to switch it, it's going to be a transition. And I want to bet on a good golfer like Max Homa right now over him as a way to short him in the market. I obviously won't be playing him on DK, so I don't think he plays all 4 rounds here this week. And again, like I said, I'm looking at Max Homa minus 112 against him in the matchups.
Don't mind that matchup. I will say, to me, this is where some game theory comes into play. I honestly don't even think Jason Day is in remote form, but if he is as low owned as we are projecting potentially, I do have interest as a flyer, because I do think that the top end equity is there. The miscut equity is not even close to me, to guys like Homa and Connors. Jason Day is really struggling. Not to mention, we don't know if he's hurt. That's always a perpetual wonder with his back, but he has not looked good. I do think, though, him and Cam Champ as low-owned super flyers I could get down with.
Yeah, the Cam Champ is coming up. He's next on my list or very close to it. So let's talk about him for a second. I think that this is the end of the miscut streak.
Okay.
As I mentioned before, he's really bad in the wind. We're not getting any of that this week. And the week before that, he had that really unfortunate event happen that led to a triple that obviously led to the miscut. So I'm back in on Cam Champ this week. Can I get you to buy in? And are you already bought in?
Yeah, I am. And again, this is a product of ownership. If Cam Champ was popular, I would have the same amount, but it would actually come in under the field.
Yep.
Now I'm able to take a percentage that's going to get me leverage. His off the tee, as we know, is incredible. And it's even been good in this. His putter has been cold. You've mentioned the blow up holes. He's a guy, you've talked about this immensely. And it's one of the reasons that you're always competing in large field tournaments. When you make the cut, you fly up the leaderboard when you can score like him. He can dominate these short pars for. He's going to have scoring chances. It's like the Will Gordon formula. Yep. You can rack up the points without racking up the placement points.
It's something that not every golfer has the ability to do. And one of those golfers, honestly, is Matt Kuchar. The guy is just a par machine. It's not going to work for him here this week. I'm just not ready to believe Matt Kuchar is back to decent
Me
form.
neither. His best thing used to be that he was super consistent. He would make cuts for you. He's been missing cuts all over the place. For him, I'm not there. I'll let other people go to him.
Agreed. A guy that likely would have been even more popular than he already is going to be had he not had a 4-putt and a 3-putt on Sunday. And that's Sam Burns. A really nice bounce back after a pretty horrendous miscut at the Desert Classic. Looked like he was in good form all week. In fact, did bounce back. He only shot 1 over on Sunday, which for all intents isn't bad after opening with a 4-putt. What do you make of Sam Burns this week? He is probably going to close in on 15% owned. And in the higher dollars, likely even gets even higher.
Yeah, and that, again, I think Sam Burns is fine. I'm going to have exposure. I held on. I played him at Farmers after playing him at MX. You're not going to get super consistent with all these guys. They're going to have ebbs and flows. He can score as well. Bermuda guy, he's fine. To get major leverage, you're talking 25%. That's a lot of Sam Burns when there's so many other guys in this range.
A guy that maybe is turning out to be like a tough game specialist is Henrik Norlander. Here's the guy, 2 top 5s at 2 of the toughest PGA Tour events in the last year, the Memorial being one and then last week being the other. Is that where we want to focus on him, or can we translate that game into this week into some good form?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of him. Hasn't played here. Ball striking out of control. He had that run in the middle of last year during the restart, and then it derailed to close the year. Miscut at Bermuda, miscut at Houston, miscut at OHL, opens with a miscut at Sony, and now he is just back in action. I don't know what to make of him, I'll be honest. I'm not really there, though. I think for me, I'd rather take a stab at Chris Kirk if I was taking a dark flyer at 7,500. So not going to get to Norlander.
Yeah, Chris Kirk, definitely an interesting play, has played very well in his own right. So certainly not suffering too much or giving up too much in terms of recent form. So Norlander, no starts here, which I kind of find interesting. But whatever, everybody chooses where they want to play, and that's the fun of the game. So, all right, next golfer we're going to talk about is Brendan Steele. And here's the guy that I've been on. No lie. But now he's 7,400, his most expensive price. And it's like he's back to 2.5, 3 years ago where people just loved to roster this guy. That's fine. I'm out. I'll see you on the other side. I got my run out of him, and now I'm done with him. Are you joining the crowd, or are you going against him here?
Again, I hate to be a broken record, but there's just a lot of these type of plays. I will have some steal in the player pool, but I don't know if I get over. People look at this course history. It's been immaculate. The last 2 years has been bad, but he used to be automatic, kind of like Charles Howell. We saw how that worked last week. Yeah. And he is coming in with a little bit of form. He was 4th at Sony, 21st at Amex. Everything checks out. I think he is fine. But again, you have about 5 to 10 guys right around him, plus or minus $200, that are also very, very interesting.
One of the guys that's interesting, obviously, each and every week. And I wrote something in my Winning Element article this week that is now free. If you guys haven't read it, check it out. I explained that Jordan Spieth is now turning into a one miss guy off the tee. What does that mean, Ben? Well, that means that it's making a little bit of progress. Again, I don't think he's close to form, but we did see him get to -4 last week. Ended up making 4 bogeys to miss the cut. But I think that his right misses is better golf for him long term. Again, I'm not ready to back him. He's obviously one of my favorite golfers. But what I did see out of him last week is that his driver miss is only one side, and that's important going forward. Are you interested this week at 1% ownership?
I mean, I'm playing day. So if you told me you want to take a flyer, I get it. I will say this in Spieth's, not defense, because he's struggling. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Farmers, I don't think at the height of his powers was a great spot for him, to be honest. That is just a tough track. This is
off the tee heavy, which he stinks at.
Yeah, that's not going to be where he's going to excel, even if he finds major form. It's not to say you could never, but this is a better situation. So I think this is a much more reasonable spot. Obviously, he can get it done here. Am I going to him? No. Do I think he's worth a couple shares if you're building 150? Honestly, yeah, I do. And you could say that about a lot of guys, though.
That's I think the key point there. I mean, listen, he did hit some quality shots last week, so it's not like he's all bad, but not enough to get behind him in big lineups.
No.
Okay, Pga On seems to be trending. It's pretty popular. We already said it sounds like we're both interested in him, paired up with Zalatoris and Griot going off right at the top.
You imagine the putting. Oh my God, him and Griot in the same group putting. So Benny On last week lost. So we only have stats for 3 rounds. In those 3 rounds, he lost 8.5 strokes putting. That's hard to do. It really is hard to do that, but he managed to do it. You can't compete if you lose 8.5 strokes putting. He's notoriously been good here, not just in life, but on the greens. He's lost the last couple of years, but not a lot, 1.5 strokes putting. If Benny On loses 1.5 strokes putting this week, that is a good thing for your lineup. So I will go to him. I think he's fine.
I think he is too, and he's shown that he's at least pretty close to form. I mean, top 10 a couple of weeks ago, at least made the cut there last week, which is what we like to see. Especially 7,300. Honestly, I think he's a really quality price. I think that he's going to be lower owned than golfers like Brendan Steele, so I found my way to him a decent amount. Adam Hadwin, didn't mean to stutter there. Really relied on his short game and putting last week. As much as I like that. I don't know. It's interesting, Ben, but I don't think I can get behind it all that much. He
is a great putter, so it's not that alarming. But you got to game with he has not gamed with the irons at all.
So bad.
I'm not really there. Could you play him? Of course, but that's not going to be helpful to you. I think digging into our projections and looking at the ownership, he is someone that I feel pretty comfortable doesn't burn me too often.
The South African turned Slovakian has popped up a couple of times here recently. Rory Sabatini, are you interested in him at all this week?
No. It's not to say Rory Sabatini, my life would just be a lot easier if he didn't go into events, because he actually plays pretty consistent golf. I just have trouble knowing what he excels at. It's all over the map. I don't see a ton of upside. I'll pass on Roars.
Yeah, I think I will. I'll pass on that Rory at least.
Yeah, that Rory. That's right.
Okay, got a couple of more names here in this area, and of course,
here we go.
Yeah, and of course, don't forget we've got our NBA late show coming up after this. I mean, it is. I got to give DraftKings credit and FanDuel. They continue to find things that we like to give. So, who we got coming on after this? Is it I know EMAC had his Fred Van Elite Fleet night. So is he back to talk about it again tonight?
He certainly is.
Gotta love that. And Tyler Xander, is that who's joining him tonight, I think? Or Eric. Eric is joining him tonight.
Yeah, Eric, our man, who's got a Chris Baker connection. So there you go. It all connects. Yeah.
Oh, and now, did he tell us if we should play Baker or not today?
I don't know. That's why you got to watch the NBA show. You got knowledge on knowledge.
Exactly.
So yeah, we got you covered. And I will say, speaking seriously, one of the things, these late slates, things like that. Yeah, you're not going to win $1 million, but it's much softer. These secondary slates, these fringe slates, having content for that is a huge boost if you're looking to grind, particularly with the NBA. A lot of people chase. A lot of people say, oh, it's the last thing. Let me throw a lineup in. If you're watching that show, you can really grind some money. Then you can use it on the hot takes that we're going to give later in the show. It's all cyclical.
Sure can. Just head to that show. Enter the West Coast special, win that 50K, come and join us for our hot takes. That's kind of what we're doing, you guys. All right, let's talk about a couple of more guys. We already talked about Griot. You think he makes the weekend? It seems like both you and I agreed that last week wasn't the spot for him.
Yeah, listen, I think one of the most important things that's not talked about is everyone loves to know when you have like a good connection of when to play a guy. It's equally as important to know when not to. Yep. And Griot is my favorite golfer probably, and I really cooled the Jets with him at Farmers. You were not there either, and he did not play well. I think this is a fine spot to get back to him. I worry a little that he's got to make some putts here, but he can do it. These around the green. This is not a punishing place around the green.
Maybe we forgot about him up top, so I'll just bring him in this section because he's kind of in that realm as well. Here's a guy that we talked about, a guy that can score, but at 8,000, this is where he's been priced now for like 3 or 4 events, Ben, and Brian Harman is just getting a little overused for me in this space. I want to see him miss a cut and drop back down a little bit before I use him again.
I feel the same way. He's a fine player, but he easily could be 7,000 in this field. And I wouldn't be like, oh, that's a misprice. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to use them.
And listen, there definitely are some misprices. And one that I think it's perfect. I can bring up this golfer because we're in this range on DraftKings is FanDuel is Aaron Wise. Here's a guy that he's 7,700 on FanDuel. The equivalent DraftKings price is like 6,700, 6,600. That's not what he is. He's 7,100 on DraftKings. That opportunity for me to get the upside for a golfer that's under 8K on FanDuel, I have to play him. He scored 143 points at the Mayakoba 2 tournaments ago. And I just think that this is a better spot for him. We've seen Wise really improve with his approaches, and I think that that'll play right into his hands this week.
Yeah, I strongly believe that Aaron Wise has the talent. It hasn't been good, but you look at his one tournament so far in 2021, he lost 4 strokes putting. You're not going to get it done out here if you do that, and he is not a horrendous putter. We'll see what the year is in store for him. He should make cuts like this, no problem, though.
Next one I want to ask you about. Let me get my notes back up here. Sorry.
There's a lot of
that's why. That's why, because I had a question about it because I wanted to know if Johnny question marks run of making cuts ends this week.
No, you know what? I thought last week it worked perfectly. I did not go to him, and although he made the weekend, which was a little frustrating because I faded him, that's not a good course for him.
Right,
yeah, this is a better course. I'm more apt to play him this week. I think he's just fine. The question is, and I know these guys are on your list, you've got Knox, you've got Clark, you got Munoz. You got a lot of names that he's competing with if you're going to click him in your lineup.
And a guy that you didn't mention that's also priced in that range that was surprisingly rather, I'm not going to say chalky, but he was higher owned than I expected him to be in the higher dollar stuff. So maybe the sharps are just in love with Luke List. But listen, it paid off when he shot 66 on Sunday and vaulted into the top 10. He won somebody at GPP. I mean, it was crazy what Luke List did for people last week. Insane. Does he do it again this week?
So this is a really interesting one. And I obviously want to get your thoughts on it. Tita Greeny looked immaculate. I just worry that closing on Sunday like that, the ownership is going to steam hard here. And I don't, it's not to say that it doesn't line up. It's just to say I think he will be overowned. And anytime a guy is overowned, there's always some merit to maybe looking to the pivots, which there are pivots in this range, but he's playing well. He just can't putt.
Anytime the chat brings up somebody in back-to-back times, and I'm pretty sure it's not the same person, I'm almost positive here. I'm almost like obligated to ask. So Harold Varner III. I thought last week would have been better because he's typically decent on old tracks. He's great at Bethpage, obviously. He was good at that Donald Trump course there in New Jersey. But he was just nowhere close, Ben. I mean, I don't think his game is close. I know he's getting super cheap. If you want to go that cheap and you're looking for a golfer that we think is good in that range, I'll go to Doc Redman. Honestly, man, I think he's much closer than Harold Varner.
Agree. And we're going to get to some deep dives in a little bit. There are other guys down there that are playing better. I want to go to Varner, and I don't think, listen, it's in early February. It's not like there's lost seasons even approaching. He's not playing well right now. Maybe he finds it, maybe he doesn't. I don't think you want to search for it right here. The little interest I had is kind of dissipated.
Yep. How about the interest in Wyndham Clark?
Oh yeah.
The starts are getting better. Maybe the T32 last week didn't fully pay us off, but I saw signs of improvement. Again, just one bad round with the irons. If he can get rid of that, he's in the top 10.
Yeah.
It's not all 4 rounds, right? It's just one round.
It's just one round. He's doing some good things. Not to mention, you're improving while he is not hurting. Like, I played Wyndham Clark on my main lineup last week. That was good. He was fine. So you're kind of getting paid off while he searches through it. It's not like you're holding on to someone who's punishing you each week. I'm going to keep playing him because I think he's a good golfer.
Me too. And I see no problem with him. And another guy, in fact, I really like this range. I found myself building a lot of 2 studs up top and mixing in these guys. One of those guys that I mixed in that I think is, again, in a good spot. Maybe he hasn't played in the last 2 weeks and people forgot about him, but it's Sebastian Munoz.
That's the other guy there. Again, just to go back to Luke List, these are the type of names I think are very interesting pivots. Munoz not that long ago was on top of the world. It was dominating. Clearly that form has fallen off. Long-term, we'll see what it does.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think you can go back though. Bermuda, I don't mind trying to buy low on a guy that was riding really high to close the season.
Same, 7,100. Again, it's a price cost opportunity for me. And I think there's a couple of other guys down here as well. 6,900. We'll do this before we go into our more deep dive section. But Dylan Fratelli, he didn't play all that bad last week. Irons are still terrible. We need those to click up before we get a top 10. But I think that the form is improving and he's $400 cheaper than last week. So I don't see a reason not to play him.
Fratelli, again, maybe not the best thing for content to say this, but to me, he's genuinely a perpetual GPP guy that you should have in your portfolio because at random, he can get crazy hot with any part of his game. Sub 7K. It's not like he misses a ton of cuts either relative to his volatility. So I think he's fine. You can't hone in on him though. He's not that type of guy because you don't know what you're going to get.
Yep, exactly. Now let's go into our deep dives. And we already mentioned Doc Redman, 6,600. I think that's a really quality price for him. Next guy I have on my list, 6,500. I watched him play last week because he was in the final group, not final group. He was in one of the featured groups on Sunday with Rory McIlroy and I forgot who Adam Scott, I think maybe. Is the other guy.
I was watching the other two.
Which were garbage. But Sam Ryder actually looked like he was in pretty good form. He putted terribly on Sunday, but ball striking, Ben, I got to be honest, for 6,500, this guy looks like he's in form.
Last week he looked more than in form. It was 6.7 on the approach, just dominant, absolutely fantastic. Now, there was nothing to really lead you to that happening. That was his first top 10 since Workday in July. Wow. You think he found something? Absolutely. To me, Kyle Stanley, $200 more. He played well last week. Again, he's finding something. Don't mind going there. There are a lot of guys in the 6K range that you could go to this week.
We have a lot to live up to because we both nailed our hot takes there last week. Yours was Kyle Stanley. You said top 20. You said, listen, I think he could sneak into the top 10, but I think top 20 is a safer bet. And listen, it was exactly pay off. I believe he tied for 16th in that big tie. And I threw in you have to get both of them. Adam Scott and Zalatoris both in the top 10. So a pretty good week there for us. Not bad. Like I said, one of the first ones we got both of us through. So one of the ones that I've used in hot take quite a bit, who has found himself 2 straight weekends, is Will Gordon, Ben. Do we think at 6,300, he's a continued guy to put on your squads?
Sorry to all the Will Gordon people because I never play him. And I think I'm going to this week a little. I am a little concerned because he gained a ton of strokes putting last week. His irons weren't good. He just kind of does that, though. And he's a pure scorer. I will say, though, Robbie Shelton is also kind of interesting to me. He's a similar type of guy who racks up the birdies.
Top 25 or bust for Robbie Shelton. That's honestly what he does. It looks like it's every other start, which makes me nervous. But they're both at 6,300 this week. So I definitely think, again, if you want to roster 2 studs, you want to go get Ron McIlroy, Ron Xander, Xander Thomas, whomever you want to do. I think Xander. I think I saw Xander and Rory are playing together, if I'm not mistaken. In any case, if that's where you want to go, these guys will help you do that. And I don't think that you're giving up too much based off of who's in that 8,000 range. Because if you came off of Rom or Rory and came off of Gordon, that's where you'd end up with your salary. I'd rather have Rom and Gordon than I would Billy Horschel and Siwoo Kim this week. Plain and simple. A couple of other guys I want to talk to you about. And this guy, I really think he deserves some quality time and some quality looks, is Nick Hardy. I don't want to ignore form.
Nick Hardy.
And yeah, so Monday qualifier.
See, you said Nick Hardy and it literally broke the internet.
Oopsies. What'd I do?
No, you're good. Who the hell is Nick? Isn't that him and Dylan Meyer in my mind have morphed into one person?
Oh, that's possible. Oh, did I break? I just saw that. I did see internet connection unstable. I'm back though, right? We're good.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. My internet did not
just
want
watch
Nick Hardy.
The Nick Hardy talk. It'll
So 25-year-old from Illinois, but he would be on the PGA Tour had COVID not come up last year because he finished 15th last year on the Corn Ferry. T14 at the Sony Open. Monday qualifies here this week. This is where he plays based out of. At 6,200, I'm not going to deny form. And looking at his OWGR form, listen, we saw Zalatoris tore up the Corn Ferry Tour and now is doing it on the PGA. I'm not saying Hardy is Zalatoris, but this kid's got game.
So I want to kind of open this question up a little bit to you because this is one place I'm a little more apt to do this. Like Ogletree had been mentioned in times in passing last couple of weeks, and I wasn't really there. So you've got Nick Hardy. You have Davis Riley at 61. This is a guy who, again, Corn Ferry racked up some wins. Where do you rank these guys? And then you have Augustine also down there. Is there a preference if you had to go to one?
Yeah, so I think that by the way it looks right now, Hardy's in better form. Long term, I think that you probably lean Riley. I think Riley has done more in his short career. Augustine is still completely unproven. We saw him at the Masters. I know he made the cut there and competed against Ogletree. But he failed in his first start at the Desert Classic, which, kind of a scorer event. I want to see Augustine make a cut at a regular PGA Tour event as a pro, not as an amateur that he was at Augusta. Before I play him, I'd rather play Hardy, who just came in a tie for 14th. And Riley has had a couple of more starts on the PGA Tour. I think right now I'll go Hardy, I'll go Riley, I'll go Augustine as kind of the plays in which a year from now we might be like, they can't even play on the Outlaw Tour, or wow, they should be 8,000 in this field.
That's always the key. Like I said, those are these young, unproven guys. They're the ones whose price they could literally be off the tour, or one of them could be Morikawa. Like there is a chance. I doubt it, but there's always a chance.
And that's not to take away from the Outlaw Tour, Ben, because these guys are really good on the Outlaw Tour.
I'm sure. Just
Outlaw Tour legend Mark Anguino, who is obviously plays in this area. He's the other Monday qualifier. I'm not playing him, but I'm just saying, it's
friend of the show.
Friend of the show. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it.
All right, I got two for you here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Before we get to I got Killa Keith, aggressive off the tee.
Ooh, yeah.
You rack up birdies at 64. Now we're getting Chad. This is, first of all, when I say this, I want the likes. Don't put dislikes because this guy's out of control in life. What about Grayson at 61? He lost 9 strokes putting last week. He found the weekend. He's made the cut here a couple times. He's a pure scorer. Or do you think that's just unnecessary?
I'd rather play Gordon.
Okay.
I think Will Gordon has just so much more potential than Grayson Murray.
What about Killa Keith?
Killa Keith, on the other hand, I think we saw at least a little bit of resurgence. He was playing really bad towards the end of last year.
Yes.
Like awful. And then all of a sudden he caught a really hot putter at Sony. Ball striking was okay, but he also caught a hot putter. Came tied for 14th. Last week, you and I both know Keith Mitchell is just not a grinded out guy at Torrey Pines. Maybe he should have been. I'm not really sure because he played great at Valspar that one year. That's kind of how he burst onto the form, which that's kind of a longer iron course. So I don't know where Keith Mitchell's game is. That's what kind of this is leading me to. So I'm not going to have more than 5%, but he is in the player pool at least. He's in one of my what I call hole-in-ones where, he kind of just gets in there 4 or 5 lineups.
Yep.
Now, again, when you're doing 150, you have the option of throwing away money like I do. So there's plenty of guys that I, will at least look at. And again, like I said, there's enough guys under 7K this week where I think you can go ahead and roster 2 of the guys up top. But So, all right, let's talk about our one and done here before we give our hot takes. And then you put out an article each and every week, and we have been 3 for 3 so far in these articles and guys we're picking. I want to let you give your preview, and I think we're going to be aligned again, or at least very close. I think on one of your other picks is going to be my main pick here this week.
So, yeah, I have an article posted totally free. I will say, chat just mentioned real quick, Patty Harrington is kind of interesting. I worry that he can't score enough, but he's playing well. He played well overseas, 62. I get it if that's your preferred punt. Nothing wrong with that. All right, one and done time. I think it's very early in the season. I'm opening it up a little. I've been really, really vanilla. I haven't done anything. I'm going to save my one and done because it's my hot take guy. So I'm going to say that. But who are you going to? In my article, I talk about some of the more, I think, kind of the burger types. You could go to Hideki with the course history, Ricky with the course history. Are you going on that type of play this week in one and done?
Yeah. So Hideki is the one that's slotted in there right now, which is why I said him, because it seemed like he was the maybe the more obvious play. What I wanted to, and this is the thing is, for example, the Mayo Cup, which is what you and I are both in and competing in. I have 3 top 10s, including a top second, and I'm in 700th place.
Yeah, you got to move up the board, start to at least.
So does that mean, do you think that we need to start looking at the board now where it's like, no one's going to pick Sung J M this week, and if he wins, that's my opportunity to really jump back up there? Or do you think it's too early to try and go against the grain like that?
So I don't think you need to be crazy. Like, it's not the time to just start picking
Wyndham Clark, for example.
Yeah, like you don't want to like ISO a winner just yet. It's very early. Things change. But at the same time, you can't just pick the most obvious guy every week. Right. It's not going to work. So depending on where you are, I'm in a similar boat. I had Siwoo, which was great.
Oh, nice. That's a good win. Yeah.
But without around him, pretty just standard guys who didn't do much. Mm-hmm. So I'm just kind of lurking in a similar spot. But I think you kind of want to balance your team a little bit. I think Hideki, Ricky, maybe you open up a little more. I would strongly oppose going to like Champ or down to a guy. That to me is a little unnecessary unless you truly love a guy. And my hot take is a guy I am in love with one play this week, and I'm just going to go for it.
Let's roll it. Let's go. Let's nail these again here this week.
All right. This is going to be you're going to need to nail yours because mine is not going to work, but we're going to try, chat. All right. Before I do, real quick, just going to give my spiel. As always, got a lot of people. We've been jumping this time around, and we appreciate you guys hopping in and out. Like I said, stay tuned for NBA. Big things coming, and it's not just here. We have so much Super Bowl content, ton of shows in the next few days. Obviously, we're going to have a ton of fun with that. March Madness only 40 days away. Believe me when I say we have you covered there. So it's no better time to get inside the ropes. All right, my hot take. There's one guy we didn't really talk about. He shot 65 on Thursday. Fantastic. He also missed the cut last week because he shot 79 on Friday. He lost it completely with the putter and everything else. It's a lot of risk. He may have been in your poison category, but I think it's different. Scotty Scheffler,
bingo,
I believe is going to play fantastic this week. I'm taking a shot with him in one and done. I bet him to win. I think he does win. Obviously, I'm talking about someone who's north of 50 to 1, so you got to take that with a grain of salt. But I really think he is poised to show, what we saw on Thursday and maybe sustain it more than freaking 18 holes. Got to be better than that.
This guy, man, it's so frustrating.
I don't get it.
Man, he honestly went full Keegan. So in his career, dating all the way back to basically when he joined the tour, even if you want to go back to his Corn Ferry tour, he misses cuts in bunches, but doesn't miss that many. Whenever he misses one, he misses 2. The most he's missed is 3. Travelers, Rocket, and Workday, 3 in a row. Other than that, it's very, very sporadic when he misses the cut. So are we in a period where he might miss 3 in a row? I'm not sure. I'm more apt to say this is an absolute perfect bounce back spot for him. We've gotten 2 missed cuts with high ownership. Now we're going to get the low ownership 9,100, Ben. I love the call. If he goes out and wins, man, that's going to be awesome. Love that hot take there.
That'd be quite useful.
Yeah, it sure would. So my hot take is going to be a twofold again. I'm going to stick with this twofold. I liked doing it. I think it makes it a little bit harder to get him right. So my first one's going to be Wyndham Clark. I got him getting inside the top 20. I think it's going to continue the ascent. The momentum is there. I think it's a great course for him. If the irons stay good all 4 rounds, he's going to be there. And then my winner.
What, Jordan Spieth? Just
yeah, no. If it doesn't come from the top five price guys, so I mean, this isn't Again, this isn't terribly hot because he's one of the best players outside of the top 5. It's Will Zalatoris. I got him getting his first career PGA Tour win, 45-1. If the top 5 don't win, it's Willie Z and it's Wyndham Clark top 20 this week. Pretty much there goes to show you what I'm looking for out of my lineups. I'm going to guess Scotty Scheffler is a big part of yours as well.
Yeah, but he absolutely is. And the other thing that's random, and listen, I don't think this is, but Scotty Scheffler last year, and I don't have it in front of me, he had a tournament, I believe he shot 80 on Thursday, and then on Friday he shot like 7 under. He does this sometimes with 2 rounds. I don't know what to make of it. I'll be honest. I think it was in that stretch that you referenced at either Memorial or Workday. And yeah, it was at Workday. And then at Memorial the next week, same course, harder setup, he bounced back beautifully. So he does do this. I'm not alarmed. We're going to roll the dice and see what we got. But on that note, chat, we're going to bounce on out of here. Again, if you have any questions, you hit me and Jason up, certainly in Premium Slack or on Twitter. We're happy to help. We're happy to have you guys along for the ride. Golf is just getting started. I know I can speak for Jason. We were really excited to build this up this year. You're excited for Rhode Island doing some things, I see. On that note, stay tuned. Eric and Eric coming at you live, late night NBA. They got you covered. Good luck this week. We will see you next Wednesday. UMass was playing, I think. Somebody, Fordham. Bunch of clowns.